Well, good afternoon, everyone, on this beautiful sunny day. Thank you all for coming and welcome to the Elmer L. Anderson Library. We're so happy that you could join us today for today's conversation, The Joy of Children's Literature, a Conversation Without a Net. I know, it's a great title, isn't it? My name's Lisa German. I'm the University Librarian and Dean of Libraries, and this is our annual Friends Appreciation event. It's an opportunity for me and for our staff to thank you, our friends of the libraries, for your incredible support over the years. So thank you very much. I want to start out by talking about how libraries have evolved. To many people, libraries begin and end with books. Over the last couple of decades, however, the work of the libraries has broadened. I would argue longer than a couple of decades, probably 100 years. Here at the University of Minnesota Libraries, for example, we have maker spaces and virtual reality studios that are, among other things, helping to train the next generation of healthcare providers. More than 85% of our collections purchases today are for electronic materials. And I think as we go on, it'll only be more, except for our special collections. We not only provide tools and information, but we also provide well-being resources and care for the whole student. For example, we participate in the university's PAWS program, which is Pets Away Worries and Stress. I don't know about any of you, but I know for me, when I pet an animal, my stress just melts. And that's what happens to our students as well. So we have therapy animals in our libraries. We now also have reflection rooms in Walter and Wilson libraries. And these spaces are intended for meditation, quiet reflection, and wellness, and they were created in response to student requests. That gives you a flavor for how we've changed, but of course, books remain a central resource, no matter if they're in print, online, or you're listening to them. And we have nearly 8 million of them in our system. Today's discussion will focus on children's books and why they are fundamentally important to the development of young people. Our speakers are Lisa von Drasek and Andrea Davis Pinkney. Lisa is the curator of the Kerlan Collection of Children's Literature, an internationally recognized resource in the field of children's literature. Formerly the children's librarian of the Bank Street College of Education, Lisa was the teacher librarian for pre-K through 8th grade, as well as a teacher of children's literature, storytelling, and children's book publishing 101 to the students in the Graduate School of Education. While serving as director of Bank Street Center for Children's Literature, Lisa founded the Cook Prize, given to a STEM book chosen by children, grades 3 through 4. Andrea is an award-winning author of more than 50 books for children and young adults. Her work has garnered multiple Coretta Scott King Book Awards, the Boston Globe Horn Book Honor, and the Parenting Publications Gold Medal, among other citations. She is a 4-time NAACP Image Award nominee, recipient of the Regina Medal and the Arbuthnot Honor Award. In addition, Andrea has been inducted into the New York State Writers Hall of Fame. She and her work are the subject of the Emmy-nominated short film, Andrea Davis Pinkney, National Author Engagement. Andrea is also one of 3 co-chair of the Kerlan campaign, a fundraising effort to endow our curator position, currently held by Lisa von Drasek, for the Kerlan Collection of Children's Literature here at the University Libraries. And today, you are among the first to hear that we have received a major gift of $2 million from Kathy and Glenn Maranker to ensure that the world-renowned children's Kerlan Collection remains at the forefront of children's literature archives and continues to be a leading resource for researchers, educators, children's literature creators, and all who love children's books. And we are just tickled pink and just so thrilled to be able to announce that through the generosity of Kathy and Glenn. So they couldn't be here today. They wanted to, but they're traveling on a wonderful trip. But we should be able to see them. I think they're coming to town in July, and then we can thank them in person. So many thanks to Kathy and Glenn, to Andrea and her fellow Kerlan campaign co-chairs. Thank you to John Sheska and Kate D. Camillo. Thank you very much to Lisa von Drasek, without whom this never would have happened, because they were absolutely, I'm going to brag a little bit, they were absolutely taken with her and her expertise and her excitement when they came. So kudos to you. I'd also like to thank our fabulous, where is she? There she is. Our fabulous Director of Development, Heather Beaton, who has worked so hard, and we're very grateful to her and her team at the foundation, and to everyone else in the libraries who played a role in this campaign. So stay tuned. You're going to hear more about this in the coming months. I'd like to note that John Sheska, who was originally scheduled to be part of the program today, is unfortunately unable to be here. Before beginning the program, I'd like to acknowledge the people upon whose land we live, learn, and work, as we seek to improve and strengthen our relations with our tribal nations. We also acknowledge that words are not enough. We must ensure that our institution provides support, resources, and programs that increase access to all aspects of higher education for American Indians, students, staff, faculty, and community members. So now, please join me in welcoming Lisa von Drasek, the Maranker Family Curatorial Chair of the Kerlan Collection of Children's Literature.
Let's see here. Oh, good. The mic is on. I'm Lisa von Drasek, the Maranker Family Chair, Curator of the University of Minnesota. So you've come for a conversation without a net. But before Andrea and I speak about what I do, what she does, why archives and special collections are important, I'm going to talk a little bit, some background. So the building you're in is an amazing building that was built for archives and special collections. That's one of the things that makes the University of Minnesota unique. And over 10 years ago, when I walked into this building, I was like, I could work here. The building is also unique because we have a cavern where we store materials at a constant temperature, humidity, and it is perfect for rare books and special collections. And this is a photograph of what it's like downstairs. And if you come to First Fridays, we do a tour. The first
Lisa.
Yes,
This
Andrea.
is a PowerPoint.
Yes, it is.
I
put
come
it
from
down.
New York and I don't want to see a PowerPoint. You know, so can you just, I mean, that's interesting, it's nice, but here we are without a net. So, you know, I mean, if you want to show something, show the video. Aren't you the Moranger
Family
trend?
chair.
So, I mean, I seem to recall it was a great video that you created.
I know how to get the video.
Let's, I mean, I don't know if you have it or if it's, thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lisa von Drasek, and I'm the curator of the Kerlan Collection of Children's Literature, one of the leading archives of books, art, manuscripts, and correspondence in the United States. Join Kate DiCamillo, John Cheska, and Andrea Davis Pinkney, and find out how you can help endow the Kerlan Collection Chair.
The Kerlan Collection, amazing. There's nothing else like it. It is thousands of pieces of children's book history in one spot.
When you walk into the Kerlan, you peel back the curtain on the creative life of authors and illustrators. You get to see how the sausage is made on your favorite children's books, and you come to understand how they do it.
Children's literature, children's books, this is one of the first ways that we as human beings learn how to connect. And all of the material and love and passion and hard work that goes into making those books is on display at the Kerlan.
I love seeing a draft by somebody else. To go see Kate DiCamillo's Winn-Dixie and see how she sweated over that. It's like, I can always make fun of her for that. But now, unfortunately, she can do the same thing with me because I gave all my stuff to the Kerlan.
It doesn't matter if you have a PhD. It doesn't matter if you're like, working at Starbucks and you want to write a children's book. You can come to this collection, and that's part of why I give too, because it is open access.
Through technology and the digital work that Lisa von Drasek, the curator at the Kerlan, has created, I can be in Brooklyn, New York, visiting the Kerlan, and my friend or relative can be in Botswana visiting the Kerlan.
I think the coolest thing I saw at the Kerlan was probably just the Kerlan itself.
You think of an archive as stuffy, old, dusty, and the minute I walked in, I saw vibrancy, I saw excitement, and it totally changed my perspective on what an archive is.
Here's why everyone should give money to the Kerlan for an endowed chair. We need a children's book expert in the Kerlan. We need a librarian beyond a librarian. We need somebody who can be a teacher, somebody who can be the curator, somebody who can be a connector.
It is something that needs to be preserved, not only for people who want to make art, but for society.
Supporting an endowed chair for the Kerlan really is a guarantee for the future. It guarantees that there will always be an expert curator, that there will always be someone there to cultivate the collection. It guarantees the future of children's literature and its impact.
So, Andrea, I've learned to listen better. I've learned that when people are speaking and my instinct is to interrupt because I have something to say, because I always have something to say, I sit back and I count to 10 and I say, have you finished your thought? This is not what is going to happen today, because what you have here is two New Yorkers. So let's get started here. I know that Andrea Pinkney has prepared some questions for me that no one has ever asked me before. I know. I'm not scared. I'm ready.
Now,
Okay, that's not on.
Okay.
We go like this and try that.
How's that?
Perfect.
Okay, now let me ask you first.
Uh-huh.
Was that an invitation to move to Minnesota? The HR piece, the
Oh.
finish the thought. Because I have to say, when you let the world know, when it was announced that you were going to come to the Kerlan, we all felt like, wow, there is no better person for this role than Lisa von Drasek. So you came, but we were all kind of like, why? Why is she going to Minnesota?
This is one of my favorite stories, and it goes like this. I knew about the Kerlan Collection, of course, and I, as an educator in a college of education, knew that there were all these fabulous primary sources for people to do research in, but not everybody can afford a plane ticket to Minnesota. So what I wanted to do was work with the curator to maybe we'll have a project together in technology and show stuff and things like that. And when I reached out to find out the new curator's name, they said, oh, we've reopened the search. Oh. And I came and I did meet with Chris Kiesling, the director, and because I was a two-way street. Did I really want a job as an archivist curator? Is that something I knew how to do or could do or learn to do? And I did ask this very important question. Why don't we say it's the best collection of children's books, say in the United States, of contemporary art and manuscripts? Why doesn't anyone call it the best? And Chris Kiesling replied, we are one of three. And it was only when I moved here that I actually understood that answer. Because not to brag, we don't brag. But fortunately, they hired me, and that's all I do. And so, according to the de Grummond and a peer-reviewed paper about the de Grummond collection in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, the de Grummond collection is second only to the Kerlan collection of the University of Minnesota. Peer-reviewed, it must be true.
Well, I will say that when I came to visit you, you had come in, you had been installed, you had, made it happen. I had a preconceived notion of what I was about to experience.
And what was that?
Well, you think of an archive as something that is dusty and old and antiquated, but that's not what I experienced. I came in, there was vibrancy, there were children, there was storytelling, there was just everything that I did not expect. And I could not help but have the thought that when I saw the kids like just chattering, excited, and you helping them experience it. And I did have the thought that there are kids that are going to come in, those children walked in the door one way, experienced the magic of the Kerlan, experienced what you bring to them, Lisa von Drasek. They left changed. They're going to go to sleep tonight, heads on pillows, and they're going to be different people from what they came and saw at the Kerlan. Tell us, why do you think I had that thought?
Well, I do want to add that people are talking a lot about me, and I am not the Kerlan, as it's been explained to me by other people. A team works so hard to provide the materials, to do the processing. We have students from St. Kate's interning with us. We have students from MIA who come and intern with us. And in the audience is Mary Schultz, who is a volunteer who coordinates this. And you can't imagine how much mail I get. There's Ellen. Hi, Ellen. So we have, when we did the ABC of it, we had I think we had about 25 volunteers work on that one project. So every time I have a bright idea, you need to remember that I'm not here 24/7 dealing with this stuff. It is these wonderful people who are dedicated to education, children's literature, and learning. And when we have a special event like this, they come in. And when we want to go to Red Wing for the Children's Book Festival, they go. I go when I can. But it's never a one-person thing. It's the team of
It's
the
good
Kerlan.
to have a team. You know, I really think there should be a reality TV show on what goes on behind the scenes of things. And I think there should be a reality TV show on how a children's book is made. And you could host that, because when you come to the Kerlan, see, it is all about you in my mind. You know, when you come to the Kerlan, you get to see how the sausage is made. You understand what a first thought is in the mind of an author or an artist before you see it. I mean, you get to see the books in their glistening form, but tell us about
I want to say
behind the scenes.
one amazing. I did interrupt. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
yeah,
Did you finish your thought?
Fellow New Yorker. No.
Oh.
I never do.
So this just happened. So sometimes I can't sleep at night. I don't know if that happens to you. You know, I get a little hot. I just can't sleep. And I'm on Facebook. And I'm looking at people's dogs mostly. That's babies and dogs is what I want to see on Facebook. Just remember that. But there's also people cleaning off their shelves and their attics, especially children's book creators. And they're so proud. They show this big pile of paper that they're throwing out or throwing on a pile. And they get a direct message from me at 11 o'clock at night saying, have you heard about the Kerlan Collection in Minnesota? And truly, you know, the majority of our collection is donated materials. So when you look at these things, that's part of the excitement. It means the artists and the writers are engaged. I want to say a little something about Dr. Kerlan, because we wouldn't have the Kerlan Collection without Dr. Kerlan. And he was a medical doctor who graduated from the University of Minnesota and then went to Washington, D.C. to work for the Food and Drug Administration. And the leap to children's books is a remarkable one. One day, someone gave him a children's book, a bunny book, and it wasn't Beatrix Potter, and the name of the book escaped me, but it was on the PowerPoint. And so he started collecting first editions, award-winning books, and getting to know the creators. And we know all about Dr. Kerlan and his relationships because one of our Kerlan members wrote this book. Jean! Oh my God, Jean's here! Jean is here, the author of Dear Dr. Kerlan, an edited collection of letters from authors and illustrators compiled by Jean Stevenson, former president of the Kerlan Friends. And this book is available. And I actually, from my meeting with Chris Kiesling, I believe she gave me a copy of this. Yes, you did. And I read it on the flight home. And that really was, the seed was planted, because it's letter upon letter of very famous people, not so famous people, of why they sent their materials here to Minnesota to take care of things. And so there I'm in the middle of the night on Facebook, and a famous children's book writer was cleaning off his shelves, and the book he was talking about was Good Shabbos, Everyone, by Robert Garvey, published by the United Synagogue Commission on Jewish Education. And I thought I knew every single book published by Maurice Sendak. But did you know this was the third book that he wrote and published, Maurice Sendak, and I immediately went online to see how much that was worth, because maybe I needed to buy one for the collection, because obviously we do not have a complete collection of Maurice Sendak. Not so obviously. If you go into our catalog, there it is. And not only there it is, it's a first edition, and it is signed by Maurice Sendak to his dear friend, Dr. Kerlan. But wait, I'm down the rabbit hole. If this is the third book, what was the first book which of course we have in our collection. And if you can't read this title, I'll read it for you. Atomics for the Millions. And Maurice Sendak was 18 years old, a senior in high school, when his physics teacher asked him to illustrate a book he was publishing. There's a little imbalance of power here. We would never do that now. But Dr. Kerlan got $100. Maurice Sendak got $100, $50 on accepting the project, $50 on delivery, and a good grade in physics. And a lot of our books have notes inside. So the note from Dr. Kerlan in the flyleaf of this book is, Maurice Sendak signed this for me when I visited him in his apartment studio, September 15th, 1959, as we watched Khrushchev arrive in Washington, D.C. on TV. And the note to dear Dr. Kerlan, just don't show anyone this. Maurice Sendak.
Now, can I take that home? Can I check it out of the Kerlan? Can I borrow it?
She's so naive. No, not only can't she check it out, I'm not allowed to take it home. And that was my shocker, too. You know, I come to this great collection, and we've got guard dogs at the door. Not really, but nothing leaves this building. When you make an appointment, you go to the reading room, we check you in, there's a human being at a desk, making sure you're not doing anything untoward. It's a word. I don't know if it's pronounced like that. Okay, so no, I can't take books home. And if I want to read it, we have a lot of books in a teaching collection, because how can I be a person who goes somewhere and teaches and I can't bring you the book? So right now we do know, and all these slips, like I used to take the slip out because, you know, it's not very, I just would take it out because it's not convenient for me. I have an assistant curator. Her name is Caitlin. If she saw me doing that, she would walk right up and put the slip right back in, because otherwise we don't know where this book belongs. That's what that slip is. Okay.
So I want to go back to the kids.
Kids, children.
Okay, the children.
Yes.
And, when I saw them coming in, it was just, it opened my heart. And I want to kind of pivot it onto the digital, the digital assets that you have. And, that was one of the things I loved. If, just the thought that I can be in Brooklyn viewing your holdings digitally, and my friend, cousin, or brother
I'm interrupting.
Can be. I have not finished my thought.
I know, but just the question we get often is everything digitized? And that strikes fear and anxiety in curators' hearts, because we don't have that kind of money. That's a big deal. So I selectively digitize for your friend in Botswana.
Okay. So thank you. So heart to heart, though, again, the child. A child in Brooklyn, a child in Botswana, they can potentially have access to the same material. And thereby they are, again, they have that heart and soul connection through the Kerlan, which is access. That's so important.
Yes. Do you all know what open access is? There are other collections of children's literature in the United States. And one of the most important things about being the Marenka family curatorial chair, I'll get used to it. But one of the most important things about that is it guarantees that when I retire, there will always be a children's librarian, a teacher librarian, someone who has a knowledge of children's literature in charge of this collection. I'm not going to name this other collection, but there's another collection in Connecticut. I was so wrong. Anyway, I get phone calls from the artists and writers who have deposited their materials with that collection because they do not have a children's curator. And if you don't have a children's curator, who's going to be excited about this stuff and keep things moving into the next century?
I mean, you need a connector. And that I think from kind of my perspective, the endowment secures the impact of children's literature's future.
That is correct.
And again, I always kind of pivot, all roads lead back to the kids. It secures the impact that a child who thinks that they might want to write a book or read a book or know about a book can see the first draft of a Kate DiCamillo because of Winn-Dixie, the chapter.
This is the first page of the first draft of Because of Winn-Dixie. Would you mind leaning and letting them pass that
Of course,
around?
right. By Kate DiCamillo.
By Kate
the
DiCamillo,
Newbery Honor-winning
Newbery
novel.
Honor-winning, Ambassador for Children's Literature, Minnesotan. And that first page, so what I did when I got here was just, call up from the cavern everything I was excited about. And of course, because of Winn-Dixie, her first book, I wanted to see that. And she sends us everything. And you get to see that poor Kate DiCamillo cannot spell, cannot punctuate. The title of the book is ridiculous, something about 2 onions and garlic and something else. That's the title of the book. And then you can see the revisions. So revision, I think the 4th draft was Whistling for Winn-Dixie. So when we have 5th graders come in, I take that first page, first draft, and I make 5th graders copy edit. Because how else would you know all the work that went into that first book by Kate DiCamillo? And when you read the finished book, and you see these numerous drafts, what a joy it is to know that it sings. The published, my name is India Opal Bologna, and last summer my daddy, the preacher, sent me to the grocery store for a box of rice, 2 tomatoes, and I came back with a dog.
And when that child reads Because of Winn-Dixie, having been to the Kerlan, they will see that Kate DiCamillo had a lot of cross-outs and rethinks and edits and all of that, and will interpret that story in a whole new way. I think of all the kids, too, who are perhaps emerging readers, struggling, have great ideas, and they operate under what is known as the myth of genius. So the myth of genius, kids, we install it in them, that they have, somehow these magical geniuses are the people that write books. But that's not true. You see Kate DiCamillo's drafts, you see John Cheshka, you see Walter Dean Myers, you see Lisa Yee, you see that there's a lot of behind-the-scenes reality TV show things that go on in the life of an author or an artist.
That's true. And Kate would say she doesn't want you looking at that first page, first draft. She calls it her dirty laundry. I don't want to show you my dirty laundry. But she also says, if you're going to write, how many here think they have a book in them or wrote a book? And see, come on. There are more of you, I want to say, Katie Weiblin, that have a story to tell. And there's no such thing as too many dog books. And there's no such thing as too many bunny books. I'm telling you right now, I did a lecture in Amori, Japan about rabbits in children's literature. And there are so many, and I'd be happy to read another one. Has anyone read Lisa Westberg Peters or Rabbits? It's about evil bunnies. You should look for that book in your library. Yes, what were you saying? I'm so sorry, I got off tangent.
That's okay. I had finished my thought.
Oh, thank
And
you,
thank you
Ms. Pinkney.
for carrying that on.
Okay.
So tell us more about Japan.
Oh, Japan. Well, really what it's about is that we loan materials. So we hear this, if Brian Pinkney, who I was just speaking to this week on a Zoom, is thinking about further donating materials to the Kerlan Collection, he did want to know, is my stuff going to be safe there? And he, there's a lot of questions from a donor. And one of them was, I could explain to him he doesn't have to worry if a book that goes out of print, like the Elephants Wrestling Match, if he gives us, because it's a big give, artists and writers get no tax deduction. It's a huge huge thing for them to make this decision. If he gives us the double-page spreads from that book, and the book goes out of print, or even technology changes, we loan those materials to the publishing houses. And right now, almost the complete Tommy DePola backlist is being, about 4 books a year that they're doing, so that we can see that art even crisper, because the technology has changed from the day that that book was published. And that books are out of print, if they go from Random House and there's a deal made with Simon & Schuster, we safely ship this art to be redigitized and new editions be made, or say an anniversary edition of Goodnight Moon.
What's the most valuable item in the collection? Is there
okay, I'm going to share this just with this group.
Okay,
My boss
top
is
secret.
sitting right there. The answer is we do not disclose that information because my stuff isn't going anywhere. It is invaluable. It is, thank you. Who said that? Thank you. It is so priceless. It's beyond price. And you cannot put a price. Well, you can put a price on this stuff because people do auction stuff. But, I'm going to tell a bad story. Is that okay? Can I tell a bad story? Say yes, Lisa. There we go. Okay, so I'm sitting in my office here, and somebody who's a big Gustav Tengren person, scholar, researcher, who's been numerous times from his home in Sweden to Minnesota, and he keeps an eye on Tengren's stuff. Now, we don't hold all of Tengren's stuff because of the Disney stuff that he did, and there's a lot of stuff that we don't have that his wife, Molly, generously donated to our collection. But I know for a fact that if it's a children's book, it's ours. And 4 pieces from one of Tengren's children's books was on auction in Chicago. So I found out by many phone calls and very sternly worded cease and desist orders, as if I was a lawyer, which I am not, that these 4 pieces cannot go to auction, and you have to tell me who, I was thinking, stole them from my collection. No one stole them from my collection. These pieces were passed down to 2 generations of art teachers in Wisconsin, and where Little Golden Books are published. Wisconsin. So as soon as I heard it was a person in Wisconsin, as soon as I heard it was a teacher in Wisconsin, I knew for a fact that that teacher in Wisconsin would want me to have those. And he did. And we had lovely conversations about how he ended up with these 4 pieces, which he shouldn't have had, but he taught for 30 years, but the person before him taught in 20 years and passed down these materials to him. And he was, I could say I was very charming as a school librarian, and why his students would benefit for the materials to come back and be with the rest of them. And that's a weird part of my job, isn't it? And when, over 10 years ago, I took a class. Did I really want to do this? I took a class from the SAA, and it was called Archival Practices for the Supervising Librarian. Woo-hoo. And everything we talked about in this weekend in Rhode Island was stuff I was really excited about, or stuff I went, God, I hope they have somebody else hired to do that. That would be Caitlin, by the way, Caitlin Marino. So she's the archivist. She's the person who really makes the stuff happen so that we don't get, when I first got here, I got a lot of phone calls saying, why can't I find my stuff on the internet? A lot. And the real answer was time and money. Time and money.
What's the oldest thing in the collection?
Well,
Can you reveal that?
I can reveal that.
Okay.
I would say in the children's literature collections, it's Primer, back in the olden days, a horn book was how people learned to read, and it was literally made of horn, and we have that, and we put it on display when we did the ABC of it. But we have other collections, like Rare Books, that has cuneiforms.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an amazing collection. And if you haven't been downstairs, you can't go today, right, Wallen? No, come during the week. Yes, what else? I'm sorry.
So the power of choice. So it's been proven that when young people are able to choose what they want to read, they have a greater chance of becoming lifelong readers. They have better futures. They have a better opportunity to do better in school. Tell us about the power of choice. I mean, that's a beautiful thing at the Kerlan. They can pick, it's like kids in a candy store.
I have no idea what you're asking.
Can I choose, if I'm a young person, can I choose what I want to see?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So you go online, you go into our catalog, and let's say you are in love with Frog and Toad, and you want to see the original art or manuscript pages from Frog and Toad. You just make an appointment. Now, if you're a young person, if you're 10, 11, 12, you got to bring a grown-up with you.
Okay.
And you make your appointment, and we set it up in the Wallen Center, and your hands are clean, and you get to, as long as you want, to peruse those materials and see how the artist made this. We have journals. So we have the journals of James Marshall. So if you love George and Martha, you can look at James Marshall's journals, which are half the time really hysterical because it's his journal. So there's sketches of George and Martha, and there's sketches of this, and there's sketches of that, and then there's cocktails with M. Sendak at 6 o'clock. And so you get to, if you go through a lot of this stuff, you see that Arnold Lobel hung out with Maurice Sendak and Dr. Kerlan, and it was a gang of people in New York hanging out.
I mean, that's what I loved when I saw Jerdine Nolan's appointment book. Right, where was she, on March 24th, 1999?
Well, we do know.
Yeah, we know. We absolutely know. So, Lisa, what's the most exciting part of the job? What's the best part? Can you name a best part?
I'd say no 2 days are alike. Like, I have a plan. I got a plan. I've got these Zooms in. I got this. And then I get a random phone call that somebody got my cell phone. Now I just publish it. It's like, they got my cell phone, and they're ready. They're moving. That's the number one. They're downsizing and moving. Their spouse may be pushing them to move stuff out of the house. It could happen. Unfortunately, sometimes somebody's died, and the children are like, the children who are now 60 and 70 are saying, now what do I do? And I know what they should do is they should give me that stuff so we can keep it safe for future generations.
I want to talk about the other collections. May I?
I would love to talk about the other collections.
There's 14, right?
That's true,
Is that right?
14.
Okay. So tell us about those, and why do we need a children's literature collection? You have so many. I mean,
why a children's literature collection if we have rare books? Couldn't they just go there? And I got to say, the excitement. You did say, what excites me really is teaching.
okay.
So I embed in all different kinds of classes. If you're looking for me and someone says she's in a science class, that makes perfect sense. Because think about the fabulous picture books. Like, if you don't have anything Tuesday night, Jacqueline Briggs Martin will be here to talk about research and writing informational books about science. So I embedded in a science class, read aloud science books to mostly adults in this undergraduate class, and their final project in the class was to take a scientific concept and create a dummy picture book. Now, we weren't asking them to be finished, but they saw the rough sketches of Balloons Over Broadway. They saw the rough sketches of the work of other scientists who created scientific books for children. And my favorite, I'll take a moment, my favorite project that a undergraduate did, she wasn't an artist, she was in pre-med, she had to take this science class, and she did photosynthesis. And we had a lot of mentor texts. Mentor texts are other books in the theme, or so that they could see how it can be done. It took these materials, and she did a dummy on photosynthesis where we saw an orange tree in the leaves, and we saw the light coming down to the leaves, and the molecular structure of how the leaves create the energy, and the energy makes flowers, and the flowers make oranges, and then the oranges are eaten by the dancer whose energy is created. And she puts that back into the universe. And because the student was Indian, that motif was throughout this incredible dummy book. Just pencil sketches. And I almost think, like, looking back at that moment, all that she did, we did critique sessions with the students, and all I could say to her is, this is publishable, but I'm a little concerned about how you drew the orange. And I went to our kitchen, I grabbed an orange, and I peeled it, and I said, and this is what the sections look like. And she said, yeah, I didn't look at an orange when I drew that. And I thought, well, that's what children's book artists do. And you can see that in the Kerlan Collection because we see their photo reference.
Exactly. There's a lot of, at least from my vantage point, there's a lot of kind of cross disciplines among the other collections.
Well, yes. Okay. Are you aware of the Givens Collection?
Love the Givens Collection.
The Givens
Thank you.
Collection. So when we did an exhibit of Andrea's book, Martin Mahalia, was the second floor, and the top floor was a wreath for Emmett Till. We partnered with the Givens Collection because they hold, what's the official title of the Givens Collection? It is African American, what is the Givens? Literature and Life. So everything you want to know, they have. The new exhibit, we said we were going to give a taste of the new exhibit in October. The third floor is going to be the history of representation in children's books. And much of this is the history of not very good representation, stereotypical images, books we would not read to little kids today. But it will also be surrounded in context with the materials from the Givens Collection. And when you look at the historic unpleasantness, and then we move into the joy. We move into the joy of representation. And the Givens Collection has an almost complete run of Ebony Jr., which is exactly what I'm looking for.
Right, and a great research tool for somebody like me.
Yeah.
I mean, you shared with me some of the original writings of Phyllis Wheatley. The poet Phyllis Wheatley. So that was just really incredible. You know, I used to think of archives as separate from a library, separate and apart. Can you enlighten us on that?
We are not separate.
Okay.
We are woven into the fabric of library service. So when an undergraduate or a graduate student is looking for something at the Wilson Library, they can see the catalog and they can see what we have here and send us over the person who's interested in, sexist images of women in children's books from 1966.
All right.
You don't want to know.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what's happening in October?
Okay, so we got the whole building. So we're going to do the history part into the joy of children's literature, of picture books. We're focusing on picture books because you might not know this. The Ezra Jack Keats Foundation, Ezra Jack Keats of A Snowy Day and A Letter for Amy, they give us money every year for researchers. And those researchers are a very narrow slice of the population. They are artists and writers in the beginning of their career. They may not have a published book. They may, in their application, talk about the book they're working on, the research they're doing. A big part of the second floor will be the Ezra Jack Keats Fellows work. I believe Mary, who's spearheading the second floor project, did you just get the first winner of the Ezra Jack Keats Fellow? So our first fellow has responded to us, and we're asking them, what did they look at when they were here? How did that impact their work, whether they became children's book writers and illustrators or whatever else they did? And can you give us a sample of your work now? And it's been overwhelmingly positive response. And they are begging us for a date, an opening date, because they all want to come to see. And then where we have the gallery space where the Curator Collection has that exhibit right now, we're going to have original art and manuscripts from Ezra Jack Keats honor books and Ezra Jack Keats winners. And those are also early career. So we can also look at a writer and artist and see the growth of their career since.
Well, it's smart for you to get their materials now because most, I would say, Ezra Jack Keats award winners go on to do great things. They become megawatt superstars.
And I am a little manipulative.
Just slightly.
Just slightly, because one of the ideas is our collection scope has changed over the years. So Dr. Kerlan basically collected all of his friends' books. He traveled the country and stood in studios. And if you read Dr. Kerlan, you hear over and over Dr. Kerlan saying, "I'm going to be in Boston on the 23rd through the 30th. May I stop by your studio?" Well, he's coming all that way, of course. And he would be plucking stuff off the floor and saying, what are you doing with this? And can I have it for my collection? And then it's signed, "Dear Dr. Kerlan, dear Dr. Kerlan, yes, of course you can have this."
So can I give a snapshot just on Ezra Jack Keats?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we all know the book, The Snowy Day. The Snowy Day was published in 1962.
Mm-hmm.
In 1963, it won the coveted Caldecott Medal, our Academy Award. And I just want to say that the beauty of the Ezra Jack Keats Award is that that particular book impacted so many emerging talents and so many of us who grew up on the book. I mean, in terms of my own development as an author and as a person, I remember, that was the first book my father read to me. My parents had very limited resources, and they had a jelly jar, and they would plunk pennies and quarters and nickels and dimes to save up to buy a copy of The Snowy Day. It was the first book by a major publisher that had an African-American character on the front. It's not lost on me that the book has, been translated into 12 languages.
Oh, wait, I got to interrupt. Can I interrupt? Please let me interrupt. Please let me interrupt. So cross-culturally, we send materials. We send over 100 pieces from My Father's Dragon to Tokyo, and it's been on tour. And when it comes back to the United States, it'll probably go to Kansas City, to the Rabbit Hole, and then maybe we'll have it in some institution here. So stuff goes places. People get to experience how exciting it is to be here. And sometimes a children's book is made into an opera. And what book is being made into an opera here in Minnesota?
Thank you for that pivot. I was going to do a shameless plug, but I appreciate you setting it up. So there is an opera, The Snowy Day. It had its world premiere at the Houston Grand Opera. It then, just a month ago, had its West Coast premiere at the Portland Opera. And in February, it will be here at the Minnesota Opera. And it is based on the best-selling and beloved classic children's book, The Snowy Day by Ezra Jack Keats.
She missed this part. What is a libretto?
A libretto is what I wrote. So I'm the librettist for the Snowy Day Opera. And the libretto is thank you, go see it. Just buy your ticket. The libretto is the scaffolding upon which the music is supported. So
Hung.
any words that come out of the mouths of the singers, that's what the librettist wrote. So
And
that's-
when we collect artists and writers' materials, we are looking at the whole artist. So I just don't want Andrea Davis Pinkney's corrected manuscripts and proofs and all of that kind of thing. I want the whole Andrea Pinkney. So no throwing anything out.
I got it. Warts and all. Warts and all. So Lisa, let's take a moment, before we pivot to questions, I guess, from our group. Is there anything else that you didn't mention that you want to tell us about the Kerlan?
No, because I'm looking at the clock, Amanda, and I run on.
Well, I will say for me a big takeaway is come to the Kerlan.
Yes.
Come to the Kerlan.
Open access. I guess that's my takeaway, is that come to the Kerlan, make an appointment, let us know what you want to look at. High bay is really high bay, and we can't just go pluck things off the shelves. But if you give us a little notice, we can pull it off the shelves and have it ready in the reading room, and we'd love to have you come. I see somebody wants to ask a question. No? Okay. Okay, yes.
I have a question for both of you. So you're an author of children's books, right?
I am.
You are the curator,
I am curator.
which is like an artist, right? You just-
No, well, my art is you know what my art is? My art is seeing the future. My job is to select books for our collection, knowing that 50 years in the future, children, librarians, teachers will want to look at these materials. I'm a librarian.
You're a librarian. So
Yes. Selecting books and building relationships with authors and illustrators.
Got it. So my question for you as an author is, my question for you as an author is, what is kind of your inspiration, mission, and purpose in your writings?
Okay. Woo! Do you want the long version or the short? Okay. So really my kind of vision, purpose, goal is really the same as the Kerlan, which is access, providing stories for young people. Essentially, that's it. Providing stories that will open a heart, change a mind, broaden a perspective, allow a child to see him, her, or themselves represented. Speaking as someone who didn't have that, who didn't have the representation, who clung to the snowy day. So that's another kind of family story. Like, I literally slept with that book. Literally. It was my pillow. And, looking back, it was because I saw myself. I saw my mama. I saw my neighborhood. I saw, the power and joy of sledding with a face of a child that looked like me. So that's what I endeavor to do in my own books and my own writing.
Does the collection include non-picture books for children?
Oh, yes.
Okay, could
Oh,
you
yes.
specify, because I'm totally ignorant about this, other than my own life experience, and I have no memory of picture books for me,
Yeah.
but I certainly read. So what goes after picture books, and
Well,
what's the collection then?
That's amorphous sometimes. So there's picture books, there's easy readers, there's early chapter books, there's chapter books because of when Dixie would be considered a chapter book, though her pig books might be bridge books from easy reader to chapter books. And then we also hold young adult, like from Walter Dean Myers. But that, I think I'm going to finish on this one. It's because we're looking at the time, right? When do we stop? Okay, so that's exactly, you were going to ask me what my darkest secret was. And this is my darkest secret. I did not grow up with children's books. I do not have any warm, fuzzy feelings for Pokey Little Puppy. Zero. But what I see is the feelings reflected by Andrea Davis Pinkney when she talks about holding the snowy day as a child and seeing herself reflected in that. Or when a grandmother comes and shares books from their childhood, like Frog and Toad. Or when we have contemporary materials, people who are early in their career and, you know, for some reason or other, they gave us these materials from, you know, I was at a conference once and somebody gave us something. That is the really exciting thing about the collection for me, because I see how people are touched in so many different ways. My father-in-law, when we first came to Minnesota and I said, and there's this collection, he says, "Oh, do you have Mother West Wind?" And as a matter of fact, we have all, because we have the Hess collection of series books. And if you're dying to read Cherry Ames, Student Nurse, and you haven't read it since you were 8, you can have it come to the reading room and we'll set you up with the series, and you will suddenly remember that Cherry Ames, Student Nurse, had lips like rosebuds. Really. I can't imagine that when I was 8, I went, ooh. Because the books I read that were published for kids came from garage sales, ephemera. And here at the university, we honor all kinds of books.
I think we have time for one last question. Let me go over here.
Andrea will be signing, and I'll be out with her if you have more questions, and my email's public.
So essentially, my question is, among the Ezra Jack Keats collection, would you ever be able to get your hands on anything for The Trip? It is his book, The Trip. It is beyond amazing
I do
conceptually.
know that. Let me tell you where Keats's original art and manuscripts are held. The DeGrumman Collection in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. So we have some proof sheets and a few small things, but we you know, and that's the other thing, you know, if somebody offered me an original art piece from Ezra Jack Keats, I would say we are not the place for it, because we want to keep our collections together, and I want to be that generous and say, no, you know, it should go to the DeGrumman Collection. Let me give you their phone number. I know. Look at my boss. She's like, really?
Well, that is a perfect place to end, I think. And Andrea and Lisa, thank you both so very much. And thank you all for coming out today on this absolutely beautiful, gorgeous, sunny day. Andrea's books will be available to purchase, and I believe she'll sign them, thanks to the Red Balloon Bookshop. And before we leave, I just want to make a plug. If you're not a friend of the libraries, we would love for you to become a friend, and there's material in the back all about Friends of the Libraries. So again, thank you very much. Come enjoy some refreshments and continue a conversation with Lisa and Andrea. So have a good rest of your day. Thank you.